Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever had to walk home alone? It's a pretty creepy and freeing experience, if I say so myself. I mean, a lot of you guys probably don't know what it's like to have to walk all the way to school or to have to walk long distances just to get basic things for yourself. For me, though, I always walked everywhere. I never really got my driver's license because I walked everywhere. When I was 6, I would walk to the bus stop and then walk home. It was about a 10-minute to 15-minute walk. When I was a little bit older, I moved to a place where I had a bus which took me everywhere. However, when I got older again, I moved again, and I was just inside the bus limit, so I had to walk home. And as I was walking home or walking to school, which mind you was a 45-minute walk, I would always see the fucking bus stop literally stop at a place that was just down my street. If only I was a few houses down, I would have been able to take the bus. But alas, I had to walk. When I first begun these trips, it was fairly easy, and I was able to calculate when was the latest I could leave and when was the earliest I could arrive home. So, after I did that, the teachers started catching on. They didn't like the fact that I didn't get to school with 30 minutes of hang time, so they would begin locking the doors on me, despite the fact that I had to get the principal to tell them not to. They would lock the doors every morning just so they can make sure that I didn't make it to class on time, because I happen to like to be able to sleep in a little bit better. And to be honest, I could see where they were coming from. I would always arrive at class literally just a few minutes before the bell, and it apparently pissed off a lot of teachers that I was able to manage my time in such a manner that I could literally arrive at school, be in class, literally the moment the bell rang. However, that isn't really the focus of our story. The focus of our story happened when I was about 16 years old, literally just after I started this YouTube channel. And I happened to be walking to and from school. Now, there was this guy who I used to hang out with. His name was Jeff. Now, I know what you may be thinking. It's Jeff the Killer, but no, it's really not. This guy, who is Jeff, was a typical goth. He wore black lipstick and had black mascara on under his eyes. This guy was fucking pale as snow, and he always had his hair dyed black with blue tips. We happened to walk home together, mainly because we happened to go in the same direction. But the thing is that I was a nerd, he was a goth, and we were both outcasts. So while we walked, we would often talk to each other. And even though I never personally hung out with him, I always considered him a little bit above acquaintance, but a little bit under friend. And because we hung out, talked, and chilled together a lot, I actually started to get to know him. The area where I lived was Waterford, and if you don't know Waterford, it's not exactly the worst place to live, but it's not exactly the best place. It's kind of where middle class and lower class kind of meet. So you would have smallish, really nice looking houses right next to a trailer park, or, well, where old crazy cat lady lives. Just these weird rundown places right next to these middle class places. Now, I was a gifted and fortunate child, so I lived in the smaller yet also nice looking home. But that was far away from where Jeff lived. Jeff lived in this rundown trailer house. It seemed to be like a trailer that was practically nailed down to a foundation. The door was blackened, like someone tried to set it on fire. It was probably half off its hinge and barely worked. One of the windows is broken and then boarded up. And on top of that, the house itself looked stained and was in a state of disrepair. I always remember looking at it and thinking, where the hell does he have any personal space? Because it was a one-floor place that probably had enough room for a bathroom, one bedroom, and maybe a living room and a kitchen. That was it. There was hardly any room for anything else. But Jeff really didn't talk about that. I would walk home, and he would go to his own place, and that would be it. I would come back to school the next morning, and since we were in different grades, he didn't talk much, but then we would leave, and I would get a chance to talk to him again. Well, one morning, I had this weird encounter. I was walking to school, and Sorry, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable, and I'm hoping to God he isn't still watching this, because this guy was kind of a stalker. I was walking to school, and when you're walking to school, there are a line of houses for maybe about half a mile. The first house, well, leading to the school would be Jeff's house, and it was about the halfway point to my own house, so I would usually part ways with him there. Past that would be a party store, a corner, and then another long stretch of road on this weird dirt road. And then it would lead into my neighborhood, which was on this, well, nicer street. Now, we're gonna talk about Jeff's dad. Jeff's dad was a creepy looking motherfucker. Think Nebercracker mixed with old redneck. And if I recall, there was always a weird, skinny, lanky dude always sitting in his front porch, and he would always be sitting next to a hanged up Confederate flag. Now, here's something that you should know about Michigan. It is nowhere near the Confederacy. It was always a northern state. So to see someone drinking basically what amounts to a giant bottle of moonshine in their front yard next to a Confederate flag leaves you with some weird things. Really, think about Nebercracker from Monster House with a mullet. I'm walking to school, and out of nowhere, this fucker walks up to me, and he says, "So, you been talking to Jeff?" And I would casually state, yeah. At this point, I could usually tell that this guy clearly has been drinking today. I mean, he's been clearly drinking. He is stumbling, he's holding a bottle that was bigger than my head, that was almost empty, and he was kind of stuttering through his words. He would continue with, "You know, you make my boy really happy." I'd be like, okay, and I would continue to walk on my way as though to give him the impression that I kind of had to walk to school. Now, I should also mention that it is winter time at this point. My hands are freezing, I am wearing a windbreaker jacket, and this fucker is wearing khaki pants with a belt and a tank top on. And he starts following me to school in, you know, and you could hear his fucking work boots just clanking against the ground. And he continues, "Do you, want to ride?" And at this point, I'm going like, okay, one, this is really stranger danger. There's no way I am accepting a ride from this guy. And at the point, you should understand that this was really tempting because it was a good 35-minute walk to school, and it would have saved me so much time, but I said, "No thanks, sir," and started to speed my pace, and he quickly sped his own pace up. And now I'm starting to feel incredibly uncomfortable as he continues to walk with me. "Can you help my son not be such a fucking faggot?" And that's the point when I kind of started to simply run away. I flip my shit and I just run away. I knew I should have probably stood up to him, but this guy is calling his son a fucking faggot. And God, I don't even know. Anyway, I make it to school that day. I think he didn't have the stamina to follow me, and nothing further happened for a while. However, this is where the story kind of picks up and gets really creepy. About maybe a year later, I haven't seen Jeff in the longest of times because he went on to 8th grade and I was in 7th. So this means that he basically went on to go to high school or junior high, and I was stuck in middle school. So at this point, I probably haven't seen him since last year before summer vacation. And at this point in time, I think it's maybe a few weeks before school starts. I'm now kind of independent. I got some money from my YouTube channel thing, and I mean, I wasn't making much, maybe $200 to $300 a month, which is a lot more than I used to make before. And that's when I decided to, well, maybe make a nightly routine trip to get some soda. You see, at my house, I absolutely love soda. I practically drink soda all the time. I stopped drinking water, and I did nothing but drink $1 Faygo sodas. But my mom really disapproved of this, so I would oftentimes have to leave later at night. It's about maybe 9 p.m. when I leave. I'm walking up to the party store. I continue along down the dirt road, which continues on for a long stretch. There's about 2 dead animals, and it just smells like shit. Because the houses smell like shit, and again, dead animal carcasses along the side of the road just smell awful, gag-worthy even. And I continue. Now I'm walking along the stretch of houses. None of them are lit, the road is completely pitch black. And I'm just walking down the street. Basically, the party store was on the other side of the school, so you have to walk past the school and maybe for about 5 minutes, and then you would find this party store. Now I'm passing by that old, really creepy ass looking Confederate flag hanging, just broken down house. As I'm walking by, I hear a familiar voice. But this time he's not drunk or really slurred. Hey! Are you the fucker who keeps on pulling out my lawn lights? And I immediately turn around, I put my hands up, I'm like, no, I'm not, that's not me. Oh, are you that fucker? These kids have been coming home from school and tearing out my lawn lights every morning. And I don't know who these people were, but this is the most scary experience I've ever had in my entire life. I'm like, dude, seriously, no, you owe me. You owe me so much. I'm like, no, it's really not me. Do you want me to call the police? Because I know the police chief there, and I could easily get him here. All right. What do you want? I want beer. Okay. There's a party store right up there. I could drive you up. You're gonna pay for it. Not wanting to get the police involved, I reluctantly agreed. I got into his car, and he drove me up. I should mention that I don't carry any kind of gas, so I wasn't able to just pay him off. I only have a credit card. And he said he knew the police chief, and being a fucking dumb 16-year-old dumbass, I got into his car. His car was just a really small pickup truck, if that makes sense. It wasn't really large, and it wasn't like very good. You can kind of almost push your foot through the floor. That's how kind of rusted out and terrible it was. It was a good 5 minutes of silence before we reached the party store, and I walk in with him. He's looking around at all of these, well, drinks, you know, few cases, and I'm sitting there going to go get my Faygo soda. And at the time, I think I might have had like $20 or $30 in my account. So I figured that buying him some beer wouldn't be too bad of a deal. However, he gets a little greedy, and he wants to get this really nice looking bottle of like whiskey or liquor. I can't remember what it was at the time, but it came in this bottle that looked like a Tommy gun. I asked the front lady how much it costed, and it was like $140. And I inform him, I'm like, dude, I can't afford that. He quickly reminds me that the thing that that I apparently broke, these lawn lights, costed a lot more than $140. But statistically speaking, there would have been no way I would have been able to pay for that. My card just would have been declined. And after a bit of yelling back and forth between me and him, we agreed to get him a case of 30 beer cans, and I got my drink. And I think it was like $15, $14 that I ended up having to pay. I can't remember the exact price. I had to pay him. So I give him the beer, so to speak, and he offers me a ride home. It's getting pretty late now. It's probably about 9:30, and my parents are sleeping, and I'm really worried that they might catch me. So making dumbass decision number 2, I get into the car. Now, here's where things start getting kind of fucked up. I get into the car and he's driving home. He has a beer can in his hand and he's drinking it, not really giving a fuck. And that's when I noticed something really, really fucking weird. He is driving incredibly slow. I mean, this wasn't a busy street ever. And I mean ever. So, I mean, like, literally, the only people who would be driving through here would be people going to school or trying to go home. It was practically a neighborhood. So, seeing him drive maybe about 5 miles an hour made me kind of realize that this was an incredibly bad decision. And that's when he begins to talk. So, you're going to junior high? I'm like, yeah? You know, my boy's going to junior high too. Such a fucking disappointment. I'm sorry, I actually lied. I'm not really going to junior high. I'm actually staying in middle school. I'm only in 7th grade. I hear him give like a light sigh and I continue. But he doesn't really seem like a very bad person. I mean, I know he dresses weird, but that's not it. Well, you don't fucking look like a little fruit, so you probably understand that the fucking lipstick and the mascara, that's fucking gay. That's gay as shit, alright? He fucking takes up the ass, and I know he fucking takes it up the ass! I'm getting incredibly uncomfortable at this point, and that's when I notice he puts his hand on my thigh. I should mention that I was a straight edge at this point. I would always wear khakis, a belt, and like a blue polo shirt, with probably a black windbreaker on top of that. He's now rubbing my thigh. You're not one of those fucking fruits, are you? You don't suck dick. I'm like, I don't really have any sort of, well, sexual drive. He then follows up with, that's too bad. And that's when I notice he starts to lean in closer, and closer, and closer, until eventually I fucking drop shit, open the fucking door, jump out of the car, and just start running home. The car door is fucking open at this point, and I don't even care. I remember hearing it flap. I remember hearing the car make some weird noises before coming to a stop, and I just kept on running. After running for a good, like, 30 fucking minutes, I mean, I'm a fat kid, so running for that long made me out of breath, and I remember just feeling like fight or flight mode at this point in time, and I eventually just made it almost home. I am past the houses. I am now in my neighborhood. I'm home stretch, and I make it fucking home. My older brother, I think, was doing some sort of drugs, and he was high off his ass, and I managed to sneak in through the screen door on the basement or bottom floor level. I remember making it to my room. I think I spent the night playing a lot of, what was it called, that game Dragon Age Origins, and I haven't really talked about this situation since, but this fucker, I haven't seen him ever since this point really in my life, and because I actually moved after that whole situation, and we actually moved into the house we're living in now, so I'm kind of grateful for that. But dude, this fucker was really creepy looking. Again, he really just looked like one of those skinny ass hillbilly looking dudes. He kind of reminds you if Nevercracker, Nevercracker from Monster House was a redneck with like a mullet and a receding hairline. So I hope you enjoyed my story of really weird coincidences. But yeah, thanks for listening.